unstoppable kick-ass confidence. Are you ready?
Welcome to the Raw and Unscripted Show with Christopher Rausch, where we help you overcome your self-created crap without the self-help fluffy bullshit. Now please welcome our host, Christopher Rausch.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? People of the kick-ass, unstoppable, no excuses nation. It is I, Christopher Rausch, your host and no excuses coach for this here Raw and Unscripted podcast. I appreciate you guys tuning in, whether you're live on the video cast, which we do every single Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or of course, you are checking us out on the audio podcast in one of any 100+ countries around the world. I say this and I say it with all sincerity every single fucking show. Thank you for tuning in. We are on our 7th year of doing the Raw and Unscripted Show. I cannot believe it. I started it in 2019, the same year I left my corporate gig, being a director of operations. And I'm pretty amazed what has happened in the last 7 years, and the fact that we are still rocking and rolling, and all of you beautiful people join me. We started with 0 people watching and 0 people listening, and now we're in 100+ countries. And get this, I want to thank my brothers and sisters in Vietnam. I don't think I've ever said that on the air before, but I periodically check the numbers and check where everybody's tuning in from, probably about maybe once every couple of months. I'm not a big numbers person. And I looked at the numbers for the last 28 days. You have metrics for 28 days, 30 days, 60 days. Then at that point, you could do 6 months, a year, the whole time and everything. And I was really, really blown away and thrilled to find that Vietnam, I think, is the 3rd or 4th largest demographic right now that are tuning in on the podcast. China is still up there in the top 6 or 7. Of course, US, Canada, England are in there, and then we're scattered all over the world. Brazil is another large community. So I just appreciate every single one of you guys who are within an earshot of my voice right now, because if you're new to the show, this is what I want to tell you. With everything that's going on in the world, I'm here in Southern California in the United States. Please don't let what's going on in the world get you down, because I find that the people I talk to all over the world every single day, coaching clients all of different parts of the world, that we are more the same than we are different, and that humanity will win over all this bullshit that's going on wherever you're at, whatever side you're on. Don't be on a side. Don't pick a label. Just say, I'm a part of the human race. I love one another, no matter what religion you belong to, no matter what sexual orientation, no matter what color, what anything that people try to separate us by. Just know that if you're listening to my voice, that I love and appreciate you. And if there's anything I can ever do, I am here for you. Every single week I've been doing this now. This is 372 shows. I've done special lives in between. I did another podcast called The Unfiltered Experience. I did another podcast called The Rainbows in Real Life. My legacy in life really is to serve you guys, is to make this world a better place for who I am and what I do. To bring about community, to bring about humanity, because people are struggling right now. I know a lot of people are struggling right now. I talk to them every single day as coaching clients, people who write into the show. By the way, if you ever want to write into the show and give me some feedback, I would love feedback, what you want to see more of, what you want to see less of. You can send me an email, info@noexcusescoach.com. Again, info@noexcusescoach.com. Send me that. I would love to hear from you. We have some beautiful people who are in the house every single week. We got Jacqueline right here. She says, I'll be there, and you are here. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. She says, hello, Christopher. Hello, my Irish sister from another mister. We got Robert in the house. He says, hi, Christopher. Hi, Jacqueline. Thank you, Robert, for being here. I've got a special little thing that I've decided to do. Somebody wrote into the show and asked me if I have a Patreon account. And then my wife, oddly enough, within the same week, said, we were watching a podcast and they were talking about, oh, you can, subscribe to our Patreon account. And I'm like, I know what it is, but I've never really pursued it. And then I did some research on it, and I thought that's a pretty cool thing to do. So, I don't have any information on it yet. I literally just started Googling it today and using my chat GPT partner in figuring out what it is that we can do. So if you are at all interested in becoming a part of the Patreon program, you can send me a message however you want to do it. But of course, the easiest way is info@noexcusescoach.com. It'll be $5 a month. And of course, I'll offer all sorts of bonuses, maybe live Q&A, maybe an additional video just for you guys on personal development, answering your questions, doing whatever I can do to promote for you guys and to help you guys out. You guys already do it, and I already provide it for you. But this is going to be a cool thing that I've decided already that I'm going to call the Backstage Pass. So it's going to be $5 a month. Probably what I'm going to decide to do with it, most likely, is take that money and whatever I get, is donate it to a local homeless shelter or pet advocacy group that I know here in my local community called Mary S. Roberts Pet Advocation. So we're going to be doing that. So if you're at all interested to contribute to that and to be a part of that, send me an email, send me a message, say, hey, I belong to a Patreon for this podcast or whatever it might be, and they provide this, what you would love to see. I'm here to serve you guys. You guys know that. For anybody who's been a long time listener, Robert and Jacqueline and everybody else, I'm here to serve. So whatever I can do to do that for you. Speaking of which, I also have another announcement. I've been talking about this a lot, but last week I spent some time, as you guys know, my book that I've been talking about for the last 6 years will be out this fall, come hell or high water. So I did some work, working with my publisher, working with some other people that I know, and quite honestly, working on my own because I find it a little bit fascinating to go through the creative process. But for those of you guys who are watching, here is the further progress on the front cover. That is the actual not the actual, but that is a 69 Country Squire station wagon. That license plate on there is the actual license plate, 657 AUL. I got that in there. The background, if you can see the cats where it says please or anything helps. As you guys know, I've been waving this one around for a good hot minute, and that one is okay. There's a little homeless guy sleeping back there and but so there it is. It's getting closer and closer. That excites me quite a bit. And then also I've even already started drafting the back cover. So, and I'm not a graphic artist by any stretch of the means, but what I'm doing is getting it to a place where I feel I have captured the essence of what it is that I want, because I enjoy that creative process. So yeah, if you're new to the show or if you haven't done it already, I'm begging you on bended knee to go to itsjustyouandmekid.com. I will put it here in the chat and flash it on the screen. I apologize. I literally just ran in the door. Youandmekid.com from doing of all things. I just literally came in the door from buying a toilet. So there it is on the screen. It's justyouandmekid.com. You go there, you put your name, you put your email on it, and you're going to help me make this thing a bestseller. I'm going to give you inside information. I've had to cut a bunch of stories out of the book because of the length of the book. So I'm going to give those stories to you, pictures that couldn't make the book. I'm going to give you, again, everything I possibly can give for you signing up for that and helping me be a part of the street team, so to speak, that as we get closer to the launch date, to help me make this a bestseller, to help me get this into the hands of as many people as possible. It's not for vanity reasons. It's not for financial reasons. People ask me, what are you looking to make? The money does not matter to me. What matters to me is people pick up this book. And because I've had all these experiences, for those of you guys who are new to the show, I was a 7th grade dropout who lived in the backseat of that station wagon with 18 cats and 4 dogs, and went through various trials and tribulations, drugs, alcohol, tried to kill myself twice, had a gun put to my head, got almost carjacked, and all these beautiful stories, physical abuse, mental abuse, you name it, throw it in there, spin it in a blender. I experienced it. But ultimately, I came out of the spin cycle saying, hey, I'm either going to wind up out of this situation dead. I had 3 options: dead, in jail, or to figure it the fuck out. And guess what? Obviously, I'm sitting here and I figured it the fuck out. 18 years old, I went back and got my GED. I hadn't been in school since the 7th grade. I literally thought I was stupid. Got my GED. Took me about 6 months to get that. Made up all high school and all that good stuff and got it. And basically graduated with all my friends in 1987, the year my guest was born. I just found out. And then from that point, my mentor, Bill White, and you guys have heard me talk about it. I've got his quote here on my arm. You're only limited by the parameters of your own mind. He said that to me as a about 18 years old at that point. Said, hey, Chris, have you thought about going to college? And I was like, are you kidding me? I am working 2 or 3 jobs at the time. I can't remember exactly how many. I had a day job, I had a night job, and I had a weekend job. And barely just scrounging enough to make ketchup sandwiches. And this guy wants me to go to college. Are you kidding me? But long story short, I signed up for a class 12 years later. That class ended. No, 12 years later, I wound up earning my master's degree the same year I bought my first house. And now I own 2 houses in the process of possibly buying a third one. And I've had this amazing life. I had this corporate career that was pretty stellar, very accomplished as a leader, director of operations, leader of organizations outside that were related to my industry, co-chairs and board of directors and all that good stuff. Me, kick-ass Rausch. Me, the No Excuses coach. But that journey is in that book. And what's crazy is that book is 119,000 words, and it's only really the story related to my mom, the ups and downs and the ins and outs. So it's a personal growth story. It's a memoir. It will inspire the shit out of you. I just got done reading it again and getting my edits finally done for the 17th time to get it back to the editor in Australia. So it will be in your hands. So again, please listening to this, go to itsjustyoumandmekid.com, put your name and information in there. We got quite a few people in there. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart for doing that. And yeah, let's dig into tonight's episode. I was going to do a little bit more planning on this because quite honestly, I have known this cat for 13 years. I'm pretty sure I met him in 2013 when I was a little bit different looking, but pretty much still the same. I didn't wear the hat on backwards. I wore a tie and a shirt and untucked with jeans and kind of looked like a biker rocker business dude kind of a sort of way. But then I evolved to say, you know what? I don't even want to do that anymore. I just want to wear a t-shirt and shorts and my hat on backwards and rock and roll and just be who I am. But I've known this guy for a while, and God's honest truth. Let me find this. I had it up before, but Jonathan, I don't think has seen this. This Jonathan Pleska is my guest tonight, just so I could talk about that for a second. Where is it? I had it all queued up, but then my windows changed. Come on. Here we go. So let me see if I can share this. This was when I first started, when I joined this mastermind. Let's see, I got to share screen. Apologies for this, but I want to show you something. And I think, whoops, no, don't want to do that. Fucking hell. Image. See if I can do that. When I first started out in that mastermind, I was a suit and tie speaker. Wearing the fancy suit. If you guys go to my YouTube page, youtube.com/the Christopher Rausch. I think if you just type in Christopher Rausch, Rausch, you will find that there is a playlist there of me wearing a suit and tie and doing some speaking. And I think that one is. Let's just go with, well, there it is. We'll just go with the basic one. Let's see if this does this. So there, I don't know if you guys can see it. Can you guys see that? So it says on the screen for you guys listening, it says the blue, actually, this is my first one. Before the Kick-Ass Guide to Life, it was the Blue Collar Guide to Life. You guys can see it on the screen. Kick-Ass Motivation for Kick-Ass People. This dude that I'm about to introduce to you guys was the gentleman who worked with me tirelessly in going through various iterations. I hadn't seen these logos in a while, and I went back and saw the flame ones, and we did all sorts of different things. And we ultimately, did just for shits and giggles before I bring them on. We ultimately did, and I've used this one for a number of years, the Kick-Ass Guide to Life, which obviously is still, it's not as much of my brand as it was, but it still actually is. And it's a logo that I don't use as often anymore because of the No Excuses coach and the raw and unscripted stuff. But that's also what we worked on, the Kick-Ass Guide to Life, the American flag kind of behind that. So yeah, it was pretty cool. I still use that to this day, and that was 13 years ago. So let me get rid of that. Nope, don't want to do that. How do we remove that? But at any rate, Robert says yes, he sees it. So please welcome to the Raw and Unscripted Show, my friend and guest, Mr. Jonathan Pleska. What's up, Jonathan? I can't hear you. I could hear you before.
There we go.
There we go.
How you doing? Can you hear me now?
Yeah. I'm good. I'm fired up, man. If you can't tell, but it's so great to see you. We haven't seen each other in a hot minute. We chat on Facebook every once in a while. We share video game and music and Hot Wheels passions.
Yes.
But we just decided like, hey, let's get you on the show and talk about life. You have a pretty amazing event that happened in your life that kind of spun things around. But I appreciate you being here. It's so good to see you some 13 years later. It's amazing what has transpired in both of our lives since then. But
I'm gonna make us feel old. It was actually 15 years ago that we met, because it was back in.
Was it
15 because it was in 2011. Was it 2012? Maybe 14, because I met you before all that happened.
How? Where did we meet?
In California.
Didn't we? Yeah, but didn't we meet at Craig's Mastermind? I hate saying his name out loud.
No, well, we met at the event.
Oh, was that okay? Because the Mastermind was 2013, or was that?
I think so. Yeah, maybe.
I can't remember. It's all a blur. But I went back and I looked at different notes and I looked at pictures. I was trying to find a picture of us. I have so many fucking pictures from those days. Yeah. Like I messaged you that picture of Susan. I couldn't remember her last name, like Wolzerbacher or some crazy shit like that. Yeah. But no, man, it's good to connect with you here, and I appreciate you being on the show. So you heard me kick off the show. You know what the show's about. It's all about personal growth. It's about sharing our story. It's about really for people to walk away from this conversation, having a couple of tools in their tool belt, so to speak, to say, okay, you know what, during the next 7 days, I can apply these principles that Jonathan Chris shared about. I can apply them into my life. For you that may not know, I talk about this being like a class, like just show up every single week, listen to the podcast, do 2 or 3 things from this, and exponentially over a period of time, your life will change. Your confidence will improve. Things will start to really shift. Given that, what do you want people at the end of this conversation? What do you want them to take with them from this?
Ooh, I think the biggest thing in life that I've learned is be the change you want to see in the world. You're never going to be able to change anybody else, but really just focus on yourself. Focus on being that type of person that you would want to be there for you, that you would want to support you. Just be that person, because if you become that person, other people can see that, and that's contagious, and they'll start to become those things around you.
Where did you? And I wholeheartedly agree. Obviously, I was the suit and tie guy. I was just talking about last week's show. By the way, everybody, if you didn't check out last week's show, go back and check it out. It was all about decision making and overthinking. I had quite a people write into the show and saying, I'm having a problem with overthinking or being a perfectionist and all that stuff. So I did talk about that last week. But yes, I find, Jonathan, to that point, that once, and you saw me do that in the mastermind, being able to own who I am. And you guys all were like, yeah, own who you are, Chris. Where so many people were telling me to stay in your lane and be like everybody else and all that stuff. And I found, and I really discovered who I was. I had to figure out who I was without trying to please every single person and get their validation and get their approval. And then to your point, once I started doing that, the people that I attracted into my space, and I continue to attract to this day when I show up somewhere and people are like, what the fuck is that guy? But I see their faces. I'm a great body language leader. I'm like, oh, they're like, well, what band is he in? Or what's that homeless dude doing here with his dog? I had somebody look at me like that the other day. Like, oh, that poor guy. I thought they were going to offer me money or something like that, because I hadn't shaved up here. I hadn't cleaned up and I looked pretty grubby, and I thought they're going to think I'm a homeless guy with a dog. But yeah, when you show up and you are exactly who you really want to be, it's pretty incredible what happens. When did you figure that out for yourself?
It took me a long time, to be honest with you. I felt like once I hit 40, I was just like, fuck it. I'm just going to be exactly who I am. And the people that don't like it, those are the people that I'm not meant to work with anyways. And then the people that like it are the people I'm meant to connect with, to help, to be able to help grow, possibly work with. So, I mean, the moment you decide to do that, everything starts to gravitate towards you and how it's meant to be.
Mm-hmm. So what was Jonathan like? What were some of the things that hung you up before you made this determination?
Oh gosh, I would say fear. I guess I was just afraid of what everybody else thought. I was pretty quiet actually on my LinkedIn for a long time, and I was just connecting with people, but I wasn't really like putting my voice out there, or I would showcase my work and whatnot, but more on like a personal level, I wasn't really putting that voice out there. And I feel like now I've been more authentic in that way, and being able to just be a positive version of myself and just be the version that I want to be, compared to trying to figure out who that was.
Totally understand. I said this recently, I was very prescriptive. And if I knew that I was going to be hanging out with Jonathan, I'm like, okay, what is Jonathan like? What does Jonathan want to talk about? Is Jonathan like the boisterous side of Chris? Does he like the intelligent side of Chris? How do I need to be in order to have Jonathan like me, in order to have those things? I mean, you met me right at that kind of crossover period.
Yeah.
But I was also very successful in that, in business and in my business and in relationships. As long as I could figure out what that person wanted, and then I just would adjust my personality and whatnot to be in that space, I was pretty successful, and it worked for me until it didn't. Until I think that I got to that point where somebody asked me this on a podcast a couple of weeks ago. I was on Natural Born Coaches, which is a huge podcast, and they said talking about like, when did you shift your branding? And I said, when I was backstage at a multi-speaker event, and I literally looked around the room and I'm like, we're all wearing fucking dark blue suit. We've all got a red or a blue or a yellow tie. We all went out on stage and did the triangle pose and said, good after, ladies and gentlemen. And we asked some sort of introspective question. And I thought, that's not me. I'm a rocker, a biker, a smart ass. I swear I have a fucking huge heart. And I found out in that space, the space that we were in also, we met a few famous people. And I found out that they weren't the people that we are led to believe they are on camera, who were led to believe that they are in person. We see them backstage or we see them off camera, and we're like, okay, wow, that soup for the soul guy, a little bit different. The other guy, he seems to be more concerned about money than making impacts. And that's where I honestly drew the line and said, I just want to be me. And it, to the chagrin of quite a few people, I did lose business. I lost speaking opportunities. But at the end of the day, I still have people come back to me and say, I remember. I just had somebody do that not too long ago. It was somebody I met in like 2008, I want to say it was. And they remember my journey, and they actually ran across my podcast some other way, or through somebody else that we mutually knew. And they're like, man, I remember when you were the suit and tie guy. I did a speaking. That's what it was. It was a speaking gig in Arizona that I did. But at any rate, let's shift gears here for a second. So we all have those moments in our lives when something massively shifted. Like you were talking about this shift right now and being able to own who you are, which I am proud of you, dude. You're a beautiful person. I know you. So rock that. But talk to us about a day in your life. I think I know which one you're going to talk about. When everything flipped upside down.
Oh, well, I would say it was actually, the anniversary is actually coming up next month. It was July 4th. It was 2012. And I remember I just started my business. I was overworking myself, and I was traveling often. So I was traveling a few hours north to go visit a client. And then I stayed in town for a while. And instead of staying, which I should have done, I decided to drive back because I had more work that I had to get done. And on the way back, I fell asleep behind the wheel. And I remember waking up driving on rough median. And what ended up happening was I oversteered and I flipped my car over at 90. I was going at 90. Whoa. I remember that. And I flipped the car multiple times, and then it slammed into a tree. I felt like probably the biggest lesson from that, there's a few different lessons from that, but the main one is I knew I was meant for a big purpose, because if not, I wouldn't be here.
Right.
So that was very important. But the other part was just slow down. That was a really big part of it. I felt like part of me, or something inside of me, was just giving me that message of just trying to slow down. But I felt like that whisper turned into a scream, and the scream was the crash. So $30,000 later, I had to get a new car. So that was a $30,000 lesson. Yeah. And the sad part was that car was already paid off. And so that hurt even more. But yeah, it really taught me to slow down, really appreciate every single day. Just waking up in good health. It's like, you know what? Everything else in life is manageable. As long as you wake up and you have good health, don't worry about anything else. Everything else is easy. It can be taken care of.
I couldn't agree more. I talk ad nauseum about gratitude. I literally wake up in the morning and I say what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for my son sleeping in the room next to me. Sometimes, many times, the first few things are the same. I'm thankful for my wife. I'm thankful for this beautiful home. I'm thankful for my health. And then I say, to the point where I'm like, thank you for the people who made this bed. I have an awesome bed. I'm like, thank you for my pillow. Thank you for the cat that's sleeping next to me. Thank you for the fact that there's no crazy sounds and noises going on in my neighborhood right now. The gratitude, going back to the point of becoming who we are, like when you focus on what it is that you are grateful for, you find more things to be grateful for. If you focus on the things that you're missing, you find more things that you're missing. Would you agree?
Yes. Yeah. Where focus goes, energy flows. Like
Yep.
whatever you focus on, you're going to find more of it. So if you're focusing on things that you're grateful for, you're going to be grateful for more things. If you focus on abundance, you're going to find abundance. If you focus on opportunity, you're going to find opportunity. It's weird how it works, but it does work. I can guarantee that it works. But if you focus on problems, you're going to find problems. If you focus on the news, you're going to see trouble everywhere in the world. So it's all about focus. What are you putting into your head? And what you put into your head, it just comes right back out. So that's key.
It's so true. So you said you were going 90 miles an hour. You flipped multiple times. So how long were you in the hospital?
I wasn't. That's the crazy part. So I remember, I don't remember how long I was out for, but I remember I didn't have a broken bone on my body. I didn't have any cuts or bruises or anything. I was conscious. And I remember having to give my parents that call like at midnight, the call that nobody wants to give. And yeah, that was a crazy, crazy night. Yeah. So, but yeah, the good thing was I see it as a gift because the gift was perspective.
Perspective. Yes. In thinking about that, and I look at things in terms of, I was just coaching somebody about this last week. We get a little tap on the shoulder, and then we get kind of a press on the shoulder, and then we kind of get a shove on the shoulder, and then maybe we get tripped. And I say God, source, universe, because I believe in all the different aspects of what encompasses the world. God, source, universe gives us signs, gives us signals. Hey, by the way, you might want to take a look at this. And then sometimes we get the outright slap in the face to hopefully wake us up before something tragic happens. Did you, looking back at it in retrospect, Jonathan, can you see that there were other signs that the universe was trying to tell you to slow down?
100%. Whether we say God or universe, I mean, I'll use God in this perspective. I mean, other people can say universe, I would say that in those instances, I felt like I was being whispered to, but I was just ignoring it. Eventually, if you ignore those whispers, it's going to be a scream. The scream was the crash. So in order to hear those whispers, you have to slow down and just take a moment and focus, either take time for yourself or just take time to just like take a break and just, show some gratitude towards life. But you'll start to hear those things when you slow down.
Yes, you will. I tell people all the time, like, when's the last time you just sat still and quiet? And people, what? I don't have time to do that. I'm like, did you ever, I asked people also, I said, well, in the same respect, I said, tell me one of the top books that you would recommend to somebody. And oftentimes they say, Think and Grow Rich. I'm like, think about that title. Yep. Think and Grow Rich. I said, when do you do your best thinking? In the shower, on the toilet, while I'm driving. Okay. Are you able to calm yourself enough to be able to hear those messages and see those messages? Because my next question to you is, was it ego related, Jonathan, in terms of why you didn't pay attention to those whispers? Or was it something else that was perhaps why you weren't paying attention to the signs that said, hey, you need to slow down?
I don't think it was ego related. I would probably say it's more ADD related. I'm just like all over the place. So for me to just focus and slow down, it really takes a lot to just focus and slow down. Like I am just literally all over the place. So I would say that I was just trying to do too much at that time. I wouldn't say that it was ego. I was just trying to continue pushing myself, and I just got burnt out. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's the reason why I ask that is a lot of times when we're young and upcoming, it's not that we're egotistical. It's the fact that our ego side of us is trying to prove and to validate and to substantiate and to most of the time prove to ourselves our worthiness. And I find that when I ask that question, a lot of times people will sit there and look back at it, and I find that the separation of the chaotic personality and the peaceful personality is the surrender of that ego, as the surrender of needing to be validated, of needing to be right, of all those different things, and letting that ego go aside. I know for me, in my own personal experience, I was very confident. I wasn't really arrogant. Some people might have said I was arrogant, but in the growth process that I've experienced, especially since leaving corporate, and especially since becoming a dad, the peace that I found in my soul has really been from letting that part of me go and sit there and say, as long as I'm operating from my heart, like no matter what I say, you and I remember seeing Glenn Morshower. I'm still friends with Glenn, still talk to him all the time. And I remember, and I told him this on text message actually the other day. I said, I still hold dear in my heart the fact that you would walk out in front of 800 people, look around and say, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about tonight. Is that okay with you guys? And then he would just fucking command our attention for 2 hours, telling us stories, having us do exercises. And I thought that's what a heart-based existence really kind of means to me. And when you look back on your journey, Jonathan, what has been the other contributing factor to you being the man that's sitting in front of me today?
Ooh, you know what? I would say failure.
Yeah.
I
Talk to
would
me about
say,
that.
oh yeah. So, I failed a lot, in many different areas. When it was, from business building to, trying to land proposals to, I probably have more of a relationship with a voicemail than I do clients at times.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, but I would definitely say failure definitely help bring me to the person that I am today, and I'm actually very thankful for that. And the reason being is failure is really just feedback. And
I
when
was
you
just
get
going to
that
ask you
feedback,
that. If you were going to
yeah,
name it something else, what would it be?
yeah,
That's
no,
funny.
it's
You've
just the
read my
feedback.
mind.
It's just it's you trying something and it didn't work out, so you just have to refine it and continue building. And that's why, going back to what your guests were saying about, perfection and trying to get everything right, it's so much better to just launch something imperfect and refine it along the way than it is to stay stuck and try to make it perfect, and you're wasting all of this time. It's just so much easier. Just launch it at phase one. And I do this with clients too. It's like, okay, let's do a phase one, and then we'll continue to build and build and build and build, like phase two, phase three, phase four. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Like just get phase one done, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll keep adding to it over time. Because the longer you don't exist to the world, the longer, the easier it is for somebody else to take the opportunities away that were meant for you. But you have to
So
put yourself
true.
out there.
So true. We share a brain right now, dude. Because I was literally just talking about that in my group coaching program the other week. We had a new person join, and they kind of made the assertion that I've got things figured out. And I said, you know what? I said, quite honestly, we were talking about self-sabotage. We talked about that on the show recently. Also, self-sabotage, the identity, who we were versus who we were becoming. And I tell people all the time, fail your way to success. Like as many successes as I've had, and as easy as I could rattle them off, I have stuck my foot in my mouth more times than I care to remember. I have screwed up things more times than I can remember. I have made more failures or more mistakes as most people would identify them as. But to your point, feedback, I love that. I'm going to start using that. To me, they're stepping stones. To me, they're learning opportunities, because when I find that, failure plus mistakes equals learning. And as long as I continue to learn from those situations, then that's all part of the process. That's all part of life. But so oftentimes, and I was guilty of this, like we often wait for it to be perfect. We often wait to, oh, I don't feel like writing the book. Oh, I don't feel like looking for a new job. Oh, I don't feel like going through a divorce. You're never going to necessarily feel like it, but God Source Universe is going to continually give you bigger signals and bigger warning signs that this is the inevitable path. So the sooner you take that action, I often tell people, and I can't take responsibility for this, like perfect is better than planning, or perfect or completion is better than perfection. And so oftentimes with my coaching clients, same thing. I'm like, what's one thing you're willing to do this week that you haven't done in the last 6 months to work one step towards that goal? And I find that sometimes people just need the permission, or they just need to be pushed. And then all of a sudden, inevitably, they do 3 things. And then they come back to me like, oh my God, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Or, oh my God, once I started going, I was just helping somebody coaching, writing a book. And I said, just start with one thing you want to get across, one story you could tell somebody, and then just go from that point and tell a couple of more stories. And then on the front end of it, sit there and write the introduction about the stories you're going to tell. And on the back end, write about the stories you told. And then there's your book. And so many people have done that. I want to ask you this. When you think about Jonathan before the crash, were you good at setting boundaries for yourself and setting boundaries with your relationships, or was it kind of a free-for-all in that respect?
Absolutely not. No, I was not. No. I would say, honestly, at that time, I was just looking for acceptance. And now I just don't care. That's the beautiful thing. It's like, how free are you to be able to say, I really don't care what anybody else thinks. I'm going to build what I want to build. I'm going to impact who I want to impact. I'm going to be that light for other people. And I just don't care. And it's a beautiful, beautiful freeing thing. So, but back then I was just all about acceptance. I was looking for acceptance from everybody else. And it was just like, and a lot of it was just stemming from the fact that I just wasn't accepting who I was. So I was trying to see if other people can validate, like, hey, you are better than what you think you are. It's really just freeing to be able to say, I love who I am. Yep. And I don't care if you love me or not. And it's a beautiful, freeing thing.
I want that for everybody, Jonathan. Honestly, the people that I've coached over the years, I've been doing this now for 20 something years. Inevitably, when I look back on this, my coach was asking me these questions not too long ago, because we were thinking about, okay, what's the next book I'm going to write? Because I'm like, I've written other books that are in process, but I thought, what's the most logical book to write again? And she said, let's take a look at the patterns of the people that you've coached and what the results have been. And one of those is authenticity, as much as that word is burned out, but really helping people accept and love who they are. Because what I find, and I'm sure you see this, is when I ask somebody, who do you love the most? 99.9% of the time, they tell me somebody else. Very, very seldom does somebody say, I love myself. Because when we go back to the childhood conditioning that we all experience, we really become the people that we're going to become between the time we're born and about 6, 7 years old, 5, 6, 7 years old, depending on what psychological studies you looked at. And I've looked at a lot. We become that person based on the feedback that we got from our teachers, from our siblings, from our leaders in our community, wherever it is that we, worshiped or went to Boy Scouts or whatever social clubs we were in. We pretty much took the opinions of others and said, okay, I'm a terrible singer. I'm not pretty, or I'm not smart, or I can't talk very well, or I stutter. And we made those opinions about ourselves. And then we carried that on. And instead of like working on ourselves from an internal standpoint, like to your point, Jonathan, we sat there and said, oh, does that person like me? Oh, does that person like me? Oh, can I be that person for that person? That's what I was guilty of. Like, I thought I was a stupid piece of shit for most of my young life. And it wasn't until, in my late 20s, early 30s that I finally started to recognize my story is what I keep telling myself. And what I keep telling myself, that's what keeps coming up in my life, because that's what I believe. I tell people like, if you tell people like, I'm a lousy writer, I'm a lousy this, then you're going to continue to find evidence for that. In your journey in thinking about the man you've become today here sitting before us and that I've known for, what about success? How has your definition of success shifted? Success and happiness. Like when you were younger, what was the definition of success and happiness, and what is that now? Aside from being comfortable with who you are in your own skin.
So when I started, I mean, of course, money was really just my definition of success in the beginning. It's just like, oh, I got to get to this dollar figure. I got to get to 6 figures, 7 figures. Now, my definition of success is looking at my bucket list and saying, I have no regrets. That is
one of my taglines.
That is serious. Like, if we're going back to, let's go back to your point about perfection.
Mhm.
I would rather fail constantly, but not have a single regret. And just say, you know what? I tried. I did my best. I did everything that I could here. I failed, but you know what? I grew and learned from it.
Yep.
I don't want to be that person that is 70, 80 years old and just like, man, if only I would have built this, if only I would have done this, if only I would have actually pursued this instead of questioning myself or just trying to make it perfect and wasting all of this time. I just don't want to be that person, because regret is a bitch.
Yes.
It is a cold, heartless bitch, and you do not want to have it.
Where is it? Have you ever read, because I keep it close to me, have you ever read The 5 Regrets of the Dying?
I never. I need to read that book.
Oh, I keep it right here because I often refer to this. That's why I keep it right behind me on my bookshelves over here. But I keep this one because I've read it and I've listened to it. This book, probably, I can't say bar none, but this book came at the right time in my life. I think I read it in my 30s or 40s. I can't remember exactly when. But somebody had referred it to me and I'm like, well, that doesn't sound fucking motivational. I'm reading Think and Grow Rich and How to Win Friends and Influence People and Tony Robbins. What was that fucking Awaken the Giant Within? I'm reading all these positive fucking can-do books, and somebody says, read The Top Regrets of the Dying. And I'm like, is that a horror story? Like what is that? And they proceed to tell me, for those of you listening and I've never heard of it, it's by an author named Bronnie Ware. I've quoted this book so many times. But yeah, somebody said, I think it was a mentor of mine, and said, just read it and then let's have a conversation. Let's go to lunch, let's have coffee or something like that. And I started reading it and I'm like, wow, this is going to be fucking terrible. And then I got to the end of it and I realized, these are people that she was a hospice nurse and people were dying. And have you heard of it before?
I've never heard of this book.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
so you're brand new. You're brand new. I love it.
Yeah.
So 5 Regrets of the Dying. Actually, I just recently had a hospice nurse. I think she called herself a death shaman. She was just on the show a couple of months ago, I think. Really fascinating conversation, really eye-opening. And again, she substantiated what was in the book without even me referencing the book at all. But so it's the 5 Regrets of the Dying. The number one regret. Can you guess what the number one regret of the dying people sitting with a hospice, or hospice, right? The people are dying, they're sitting with that person.
Oh, there's so many good ones, but I would guess that the number one regret is not believing in themselves.
Pretty much, yes. The top regret, if I paraphrase it correctly, how I usually say it, the top regret of the dying is that people lived the life that they thought they should live instead of living the life they wanted to live. So that if they could go back. I need to read it again. I haven't read it in a number of years. I used to read it every single year. There was a stack of books that I would read every single year to keep my mind right. Now that I'm 57, it's a little tougher to read because you're like, well, with technology, I might live to be 157. Who knows? But yeah, the top regret of the dying was that people lived the life they thought they should live rather than living the life they wanted to live. Like not. And the other thing was that they regretted not what they did, but all the things that they didn't do because of fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of making a mistake, fear of, and you shouldn't do that, Jonathan. That's ridiculous. You shouldn't do that. You're going to lose business. Oh, okay. Oh, what else should I do? Okay. Cool. Well, you guys are fucking happy or miserable. I'm taking life advice from a miserable person who's trying to pretend to be happy. But yeah, read that book. I would love to have a conversation with you after you read it. I've done this so many times with people, and they're just like, my coaching client, Nancy, just recently did that. And she was like, yeah, I didn't put that on my bingo card. We were talking about bingo cards recently. I didn't put that on my bingo card to have that awakening, and all the other regrets too. There is one part of the book where I usually get to where I struggle just because it's I'm a very visual person. I'm a very empathic person, and I put myself in that situation, and it's almost like I can't breathe when I read that part. But yeah, game changer, because if you see my social media posts, I haven't done it as much lately. I've gotten away with from it a little bit, but for all the time it was no regrets. It's actually a keyboard shortcut on my phone. NOR is no regrets. It spells out hashtag no regrets.
Yeah.
What advice would you have to younger Jonathan, aside from some of the stuff we talked about in this show? What advice would you have for younger Jonathan to not have any regrets in your life? And yeah.
Okay. So I would say, based on just how this conversation's going, like, I had one thing in mind, but now my gut's telling me to share another. So you can fail at a mediocre life. So why not just build the life that you want to build?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is, like, you could have the cubicle job for 40 years and get to a place financially that is comfortable, but at the same time, you'll have all of these regrets of not pursuing something that's been on your heart. And it's on your heart for a reason. It's
Yes.
not because it was just placed there out of out of just something random. It's there because it's, you could say God, you could say universe, whatever you want to call it. Something is pulling you to do a certain thing. And if you don't pursue it, you'll regret it.
Yes. I love that. And it's in that I do that exercise with my clients. Sometimes we write letters to our future self. Sometimes we write letters from our future self to our past self or to our current self. And usually somewhere, depending on the person, how I have them do it, usually that unlocks something that they've been avoiding. Right. And I want to go back to what you said before, talking about the whispers. You may not know this, but I talk about whispers often. I attribute Glenn Morshower to that, because I think he was the one that kind of introduced that concept to me, and being silent. And so oftentimes we're looking for the physical evidence. We want the physical evidence before we take the action. But oftentimes you have to make and take those imperfect actions in order to find the evidence. My coach hammered me about this in 2019. I still remember that year was kind of really pivotal for me leaving corporate, having her as a coach, and doing so many things that were outside of my comfort zone. In thinking about the whispers, what recommendation for people who are listening to this that are in their monkey mind? I'm ADHD too. What advice do you have for them to be able to acknowledge that whisper, whether they look at it from a spiritual, religious context, or from, if they're, I don't know, agnostic, whatever it might be. I don't know all those terms, but maybe not so much on the spiritual side. How can people tune into that frequency? Because I do believe it's a frequency.
I think a lot of it has to do with getting rid of the distractions that are around you. I feel like tech is all around us all the time.
Yes.
And we're constantly on the phone. Like, I'm guilty of it. I'm not going to say that I'm not guilty of it. I'm definitely guilty of it. But the moment you put it down and you just kind of take a moment to yourself, whether it's, just either meditating or either listening to something positive, it could be reading a book, it could be doing a devotional, it could be a prayer, whatever. But I feel like you become more in tune with those whispers once you start taking those moments for yourself.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Also, I have found for me, I've gotten the last couple of years, I've gotten really intentional about meditation. I listen to what's called binaural beats, which is the frequencies, that different frequency in the left ear, different frequency in the right ear, and it helps equalize your brain, because it's all about frequencies. So I'll listen to different types of binaural beats, which are different frequencies, different sounds, different wavelengths. They have like concentration, relaxation. What are those different states of consciousness? I'm trying to remember. I don't know. That's not important. But I find that when I'm intentional and I sit there, and I've always been a goer and doer, like go, do, accomplishment, check the boxes off. And so when I first started meditating, it was so uncomfortable for me. But now I find that I look forward to that. And sometimes I'll do the binaural beats. Sometimes I'll do a guided meditation. Sometimes I'll just lay there and I will focus in my mind, because I have a hard time visualizing in my mind. I can visualize contextually, like I can create a vision if it makes sense, but it's hard for me to see stuff. Like if I say I want to see the tail fin of a 1957 Chevy, I know what it looks like. I describe it to you in absolute detail, but for me to see it, I only get these flashes. And so what I'll do is I'll focus my mind. I'll find a pinpoint in my mind. And I find when I do that, that's when I start hearing those subtle whispers, because I basically tuned out the chaos. And in my mind, I'm focusing on a center thing that I really can't see, but in my mind, I can kind of see it. And I will sit there and I will allow myself, instead of batting stuff away and go, oh, it's ridiculous. I'll sit there and I'll think, okay, what's some other ways that I can allow that flow to happen for me, as opposed to being the critic. Because so oftentimes we want to criticize whatever is happening around us, whether it's with us or with somebody else. But I find when I surrender that and I release that some of the message that I get, it's like, instead of saying, oh, that's ridiculous, I say, wow, that's interesting. Or another thing I'll do, as I've recommended to people, is to freehand journal. Like I call it green lighting. Just sit there and write, boom, 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 boom. And usually like the first paragraph you write is whatever. And then all of a sudden, and I find that most people who have written books get into that flow state, especially writing with a pen. Like I'm a fan of having 4 different pens in front of me. I have a pencil that I like to write with. And I find that usually the first paragraph is whatever, but then all of a sudden this flow will start to happen. It's like God is pouring into me and like, okay, here's the message that I want to send you. And it's pretty incredible what it is that you can get and what you can hear. What do you think right now, and being honest, what is a whisper perhaps that you might have been ignoring in your life? Or you might be ignoring?
Oh gosh. Well, I try not to ignore any of them now after what I went through. I would say the whisper that I just listen to the most is just post it. Like sometimes I'll write something, and whether it's, I just get that gut feeling like, just post it. Who cares what anybody else thinks? It's meant to impact somebody's life. If it does that, that's all that matters.
Yes.
And who it's not meant for, they'll reveal themselves. The one thing I can tell you, especially about people, is the moment they reveal who they are, it's such a gift. Mm-hmm. Because then it's like, okay, they were meant to be in my life. It's like, no, I was not meant to associate with this person. And now you have saved so much time.
Yes.
So much time. Because time's your biggest asset. Like you cannot get any more time.
Nope.
You could get all the money in the world, but time can't.
Mm-hmm. And to that point, Jonathan, I live by this credo that people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. I didn't make that up. I remember reading that somewhere, but people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And I have found in my life, especially now that I'm older, I was looking back on my relationships not too long ago, and like, oh yeah, I used to be best friends with that person, or I used to be really close with that person. And I'll immediately go to wonder what I did to make them not want to be around me anymore, or wonder where the rift came in. And usually what I found is that it was periods of my life where I got real honest, and I posted this a while back. I said, how many of you guys out there have best friends? And people came back and said they have best friends. And I'm like, when that person asks you a dead serious, honest question, do you give them an honest answer, or do you tell them something that won't hurt their feelings? And then we kind of get in this dialogue about, you're not really a best friend I use the example, if your girlfriend says, hey, am I fat in these pants? And you go, oh no, you're just big boned. Are you really being a best friend? Or are you sitting there saying, you know what, honestly, Sheila, you are overweight and it concerns me and I'm worried about your health. Let's go for walks. Let's join a gym. Let's do a 60-day meal eating plan together. Let's do something. But if you're not telling somebody the truth, and I found that when I've been honest with people, that has somewhat maybe offended them and scarred the relationship a little bit. As you've changed and you've accepted this, embraced this version of you and the person that you love and really cherish, has that impacted your relationships, personal and professional?
I would definitely say yes. One thing that I've learned is the people you spend the most time with are the people that it's the person that you're going to become. So whoever your top 5 friends are,
Yep,
you're going to become the 6th person in that group. So the question is, are they rodents or are they eagles? Are they low to the ground and they want to pull you down back to earth? Or are they also eagles and they want to soar with you? And what happens is when you become that eagle and you want to soar, it gets lonely because there aren't many eagles. There are a lot of rodents, and they, they want to keep you down back on earth because that's where they are. And what happens is you have all these people that are going back to being afraid of failing, being afraid of, getting it out there unless it's perfect. And they never release it because it's never perfect.
yep.
And then they see you're releasing it, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And they're like, no, what are you doing? That's not right. No, come back down here where it's safe. It's like, no, I'm going to keep going. And if you want to stay with me, you have to grow with me. What ends up happening is you outgrow those friends.
Yes, you nailed it.
You outgrow them. And then once that happens, then you realize you just have to get a better group of friends.
Yes. Yeah. I've read that so many times, like, write down the people you hang around the most, the 5 top people you hang around the most. I've done different versions of that, like positive or negative, constructive or destructive, but also you look at their average, you look at their income and you sit there and do the average of those 5 incomes. That's chances where you're going to be. So much to the point I talk about the mastermind so often is the fact that who I was associating with. And I think I talked about it last week. When I was the smartest person in the room, fuck, that felt great. Oh my God. Yeah. I'm helping all these people and I'm doing all these things, but wow. Okay. Iron sharpens iron. So where am I getting that? And I remember being at the mastermind or meeting at that event. And when Craig put out the sheet and was like, oh, join the mastermind for $5,000. And I saw that sheet and I was like, oh my God, that's a lot of money. Oh, I can't do that. I just got my bonus check and I should pay off my bills. And then I had the conversation with me. I heard a whisper literally that said, Chris, if you can't make $5,001 from doing what you love, your speaking and your coaching. And at that point I started the Kick-Ass Radio Show. If you can't make $5,001, you have zero business doing anything moving forward related to all of this. And I filled out the form, I attached the check, and then, I was there for 2 years and then I wasn't. But yeah, you got to surround yourself with people who are brighter and smarter that are doing the things that you wish to do, because success leaves clues, right?
Absolutely. And then going back to that point of surrounding yourself with people that are smarter and better at you at things, you also have to trust them that they will lead you to that place where you want to go.
Yes.
That's really a big key. So if you own a business or if you are a boss or a leader, you have to let your team guide you to where you want to go. It doesn't make any sense to order them to do things when you hired them to complete the task, but they know how to do it, but you don't really have the know-how. You hired them to complete the task. So lean on their judgment of saying, hey, what direction should we take? And then go with it.
Mm-hmm. I love that you said that. I heard that I put on my wristbands that I sell and it's believe. And I get so oftentimes I wear them. I have my no excuses, unstoppable. It says no excuses on the other side. But people have asked me like, Chris, out of all the words you could have picked, why'd you pick believe? And I said, because when I think about my life, I think about Bill White, who I have the tattoo right here that says you're only limited by the parameters of your own mind. He saw something in me that I had never seen. He looked at this long-haired, cigarette-smoking guy living with 5 other dudes in an apartment, dating his upper middle-class daughter. He saw something in me, someone in me that I had never seen, I'd never been introduced before. And I had to believe, I had to trust that when he said, hey, have you thought about getting a GED? I think I might have said it out loud. Are you crazy? Like, I can't go back to start the 7th grade again at 18 years old. Are you kidding me? He's like, no, you got to do this GED thing. And basically it's like it's independent study. And it's for like, with girls who have pregnancies and, people who get emancipated. And he told me all these different variations. And so when I look back on my life, I thought, you have to believe. You got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in others. You got to believe in the process. You got to believe that, that when you jump off of the cliff, that your parachute won't open right away. and that you'll hit the rocks and you'll be scared shitless out of your mind, but eventually your parachute will open. But if you never jump, if you just sit there and go, oh, it's kind of cool, it's kind of neat, you will get to the point that they talk about in this book where you're sitting on your back and you're like, wow. At that fork in the road, because we all have forks in our road where we can go back to things, how you met your wife, all the different things. Like I was telling that story the other day, like if I didn't want to go to the event where I met my wife, and had I not gone that day, chances are I wouldn't be sitting here today in this life. I might have a better, whatever it might be. I love my life, but you have to believe, you have to have that faith, you have to have that trust in yourself first and foremost, but then also, to your point, you got to have faith and trust in other people that they're seeing something, that they've experienced something that kind of gives us a preview of perhaps if we follow some of those steps that they've done and they're successful and they seem to be happy, that we also can enjoy that same thing.
I 100% agree. So going back to that idea with the parachute, so there's a really good visual about that. So whether, like I said, whether it's God, universe, whatever, you choose. It's not my job to convince you on that. But I will tell you this. In order to be successful, you have to take that leap of faith. If you don't take that leap of faith, then none of the abundance will be provided to you at all whatsoever. You have to jump off that cliff knowing that the parachute will be provided on the way down. But if you don't jump, you'll never know. And you'll always live to regret it.
You are preaching to the choir, Jonathan. You know what I'll do? I'm going to do something crazy. Let's see if I can do this. I wasn't planning on doing this, but let me see if I can do this. I will share with everybody watching and everybody listening. People will be able to listen to this. Let me see if I can do this. I did not plan this, but there is an amazing representation of this in action that my coach had given me. Yep, we can do it. I usually don't do much sharing. Can you guys all see that I just put on the screen?
Oh, Steve Harvey. Yes.
Have you seen this before?
Yes. He's
okay.
So good. That's where I get it from.
Yep. That's 100%. Where I get it from too. Okay. Let's see if this works for everybody. It's a minute. It's only a minute and 55 seconds, but this changed my perspective.
Okay. Here's the deal. If you want to be successful, here's the thing you have to do. You have to jump. There is no way around it. You have to jump. Every successful person has jumped. You got to jump. You got to take a leap of faith. You got to dash off that cliff, and you got to jump out there as far as you can. Now, a lot of times you stand on the cliff of life and you see other people soaring by, gliding down like a bird flying through the air. They going over to the south of France. You see them on a boat somewhere. You see their family vacationing here, their family vacationing there. You see them dressing like this. You see them in New York, then you see them in London. They flying by. You know why? It's because their parachute open. But the only way to get your parachute to open so you can soar, you got to jump. Now, here's the problem. Here's the problem, my friends. When you jump, I can assure you one thing. You listening? I promise you this. Your parachute will not open right away. No, that's the fear part. I promise you your parachute will not open right away. You're going to hit them sides and them rocks. You're going to tear your back out on them cliff. You're going to cut yourself. You're going to get wounded. You're going to get some tears and stuff like that. But eventually, the parachute will open and you'll be soaring. But here's the other caveat. Let me teach you this right here. If you do not jump, I promise you one thing, your parachute will never open. So you're safe, but you'll never soar. You got to jump. I got to go.
100%. Yep.
So you've seen that. Most people have not seen that. I keep it as a link in my Evernote. I use Evernote to organize my notes. And I share that with people. My coach shared that with me and it fucking blew my mind. I've shared that with so many people and yeah. So it's funny that we both recognize that.
Yep.
Jonathan Pleska, we've been going for an hour and 4 minutes right now. I appreciate you so much. This conversation was exactly what I envisioned it to be. There was some other questions that I had, but perhaps we'll get you back on here and talk more about that and make it a two-parter down the road. But what's the one thing you're taking from this conversation for yourself personally?
Ooh, the one thing that I'm taking for myself, honestly, it's not as much.
No,
about
lie to me,
taking,
lie
it's
to me,
more-
please lie to me.
No, I'm not gonna lie. For me, it was more about giving. I'm hoping that somebody heard this and it's finally going to decide to pursue that thing that they wanted to build. That's like on their chest, that's on their heart, that it's like, you know what, I'm going to finally build this. I'm going to make it imperfect. And that's okay, because I've got phase 1, I've got phase 2, I've got phase 3. Just build it. Just do it. You know, once you start doing it, once you start building it, I'm telling you, the people, the connections, the opportunities will start to align themselves with you at the divine timing of when you were meant to actually experience them. It will happen. It may not happen on your time, but it's going to happen on divine timing.
Could not agree more. It could not agree more. I was thinking to myself the other day, I'm so excited for what's yet to come. Even at 57, you know, my focus, as you know, is just being the best dad I could possibly be. My kid's 9. That part of it, but I'm also so excited because the book is, you know, people know it's taken me 6 years. I got it written in about 3 to 4 over COVID. I started in 2020. And I've often wondered, like, I took a break. I couldn't even look at it for a whole entire year last year. The editing was, everybody's like, oh, what, I'm like, the edits are done. Like, all I have to do is go click OK, click OK, click OK. Like, literally, I went through my 3rd editor. And I just decided, and I gave myself a hard time about it. And then I said, you know what? It's all going to happen perfectly. If it's not supposed to come out for 6 years, then so be it. When it comes out, perhaps that's going to be the moment where all the next dominoes start to go down. Because I put it in my brain that I would love to see this as a movie. Like, I'm so tired of seeing, oh, we're doing Die Hard, 17, whatever, insert the movie, I just saw they just redid Cape Fear. I'm like, how could you redo De Niro? How could you, what? Why do we keep doing this? But I have never, aside from, what was it? Will Smith, what was it? Unhappiness? What was it?
The Pursuit of Happiness.
Pursuit of Happiness. Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Where, he was homeless, and that whole that was such an inspirational movie, but I've never personally have seen anything that is like my story. And so I put it into my brain. I put it into the universe. I put it to God. Like, I would love for this book to come out. And ultimately I am connected with the director of The Secret. I think the director or the producer of the movie The Secret.
Nice.
And I planted that in his brain years and years and years ago. I said, when my book comes out, I would love for you to entertain this as a potential script. And I've also told myself, because I sometimes I tend to build things up in my brain a little bit more, that perhaps I release it this fall and it's not for another 4 years. Perhaps there's crickets. Perhaps, it sells a couple hundred copies. But perhaps in 4 years, somebody somewhere picks it up and says, oh, hey, I know this dude. And then all of a sudden it becomes a documentary, becomes something. So to your point, there's a level of either scarcity, as my coach put it, or a level of excitement. And we get to choose and we get to build that. So, brother, I appreciate you for being on here. I appreciate who you are and getting to re-know you here at this different stage in our life. Tell everybody who's listening and everybody who's watching what it is that you do and where they can get a hold of you. We didn't even get into what you do and what your business offerings are. So feel free to give your pitch and your what you can do for people.
Sure. So I've been building brands and businesses for the last 14 years. So I own a branding and web agency called Geared Agency. That's GEARED agency.com. And we've helped clients all over the country build out their brands, build their web spaces, build out their marketing collateral. And it's just been an amazing experience. And ever since I started that venture, I've been able to work with so many different types of clients. So not just, small businesses. I've been able to work with schools, churches, coaches, publishers, military companies, just so many different types of clients, but it's all solving the same problem. And that problem is communicating to a very specific target audience. And I approach it in a very different way for each and every client, but it's always solving that problem.
Awesome. And my question on that, what differentiates you? Oh, I hate that word. From all the other people out there doing the same thing. I know what it is because I worked with you, but what is that for people listening? Because there's so many options out there. We're inundated with it, but what sets you and your agency apart?
I think the biggest thing is people don't care what you know until they know what you care, or until they know that you care. The biggest thing is we go into it and we really focus in on, okay, what is your goal? What is your dream? What do you want to build? And the whole point is building a foundation that is meant to hold that dream. There's so many companies that are going to try to sell you all of these different packages or whatever. It's really figuring out, what do you need for phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, and just build it over time. There's nothing wrong with that. But eventually you'll have a mansion. Eventually you'll have that, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my gosh, it just slipped. But 40. Oh, 40. Great. You'll have that empire, but you just have to start with little bricks at a time. Eventually it will build.
Jonathan Pleska, thank you so much, brother. I'm going to place you backstage. Don't go anywhere so I can still chat with you after the word, since we didn't get a chance to chat before. I'm going to round out the show and then I'll be with you.
Sure.
You rock, brother. Thank you. Thank you. So again, ladies and gentlemen, listening and watching, gearedagency.com. Make sure you check that out. I'll make sure it's in the show notes as well. And I didn't get a chance to talk about some of the things you guys were saying over here. Jacqueline says here, I beat 2 cancer scares. Life is short. It makes you get your priorities straight. Sorry. Am I reading sometimes? Robert says, yes, sir. He sees it. Jacqueline says here also, yeah, hello, Jonathan. You are lucky to be alive. God sent you back for a reason. Yeah. And I put that in the show notes, the promo for the show, as kind of a teaser a little bit. Actually, I wanted to clarify that just for some people. I didn't want to make it seem like it said, a devastating car accident that took his life and somehow gave it back. Took his life of what it was, not took his life, but took his life as it was and gave it back even better than before. When I read that back, I knew what I was saying in my mind, but then when I read back later, I was like, oh shit, I was making it implied that something was wrong. That's why I clarified it when I asked him, like, so how long were you in the hospital? And he wasn't. Robert says here, if you wake up, you qualify to be blessed, to feel blessed to be here. To that point, Robert, I often, when I think about that, and I will tell people, like, how does it feel to breathe? How does it feel like when you ate your last chocolate chip cookie? Did you really taste the cookie? And this applies to everybody listening to this now. I just did this last night. I check in with myself every once in a while. I was eating a piece of apple pie, and I'm like, instead of just eating it to eat it, and I'm having apple pie, it's like, can I really identify the crust? Can I identify the butter in the crust? Can I identify the flakiness in the crust? Can I identify the apples? Can I be so appreciative of the people, that every single little step that it took, right? To feel gratitude, to be grateful, guys, really hone in on this. To think about the apples that were picked, to think about the people that planted the trees for the apples to grow, to be picked, for the processing, for the truckers to ship the apples, to the people who made all these different components, for me to be sitting on my couch in front of my 75-inch screen TV with my family, having a piece of warmed up apple pie. How fucking cool is that? How cool is that? When you're eating spaghetti, oh my God, the tomatoes and the pasta and the spices and the herbs. How many different plants had to be grown to do this? The tomatoes and the care and the spaghetti and whether it's organic, whatever it might be, like, really stop. Because if your mind is thinking about all the shit that's going on in the world, trust me, you will find it. I allow myself to go down a rabbit hole once a week and check in with what's going on in the world. And I did that last night, and God, oh geez, you know, and that's why I spread love. That's why I spread positivity. But the next time you eat something, like really check in with yourself. I was having a chocolate chip cookie not too long ago. I do this periodically. I'm like, instead of just ooh, chocolate chip cookie, like, oh my God, the chocolate chips and the sugar and the dough, and you know, it's a store brand, whatever, you know, like my wife makes it, like, wow, the care and the concern and the experiences that she's had and the love that she has for her family to be able to make this chocolate chip brownie, or to have this the chocolate chip cookie, or this brownie. I was thinking about the brownie she made recently, or the bread she makes. Like, really check in. And also, when I was about, my point was starting to think about this, I've known a handful of people who had COVID back in the day, who were in the hospital, that, oh yeah, I'm okay. Oh, you know, this cough's getting worse. They're fucking in ICU on a ventilator, like, for days. I remember one of my friends was in there for 5, 6, 7 days. And I was terrified for them. I lost people in that went on ventilators and didn't make it out. And just the ability, like, this is how simple yet profound I keep my life, and I keep that space of gratitude. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool to be able to take that nice deep breath. I've had pneumonia. I've had bronchitis. I've had those things in my life where I struggled to take a breath and I couldn't really breathe. But man, take that nice deep breath, just to pause for a second, go, wow, that phonograph record clock that I have up on the wall is really cool. That poster of the Crow movie is really cool. That KNAC, which is a radio station here in Southern California from decades ago, the Frisbee, the Motley Crue truck, the Ted Lasso Believe. I have the license plate from Ted Lasso. If you guys are familiar with that, it talks about Believe. I have the TV, the stereo, just look around again. Like Jonathan and I talked about at the beginning, like, focus, energy flows where focus goes. And for those of you guys who have never heard me talk about this, the reticular activation system, I just had a dear friend of mine, I'm going to see his one-man show in Los Angeles, Tanner, if you guys want to hear one of my best shows ever, I don't know which number it was, but Tanner Cipriano and I just talked to him this weekend. Tanner Cipriano and what the hell? I'm having an absolute brain fart. Brandon Malinowski. Wow, that's what happens when you get to be 57. Brandon Malinowski. I did a show. Let me see if I can tell you what that is. If you go back and search the podcast, I could tell you what number that was. Tanner Cipriano. If you Google this, you guys can Google this after you watch this. The Cipriano murders. You can Google this. His family. Let me find Brandon. That's easier. Well, I've had a few Brandons on the show. Episode 60. Brandon and Tanner, the Dead Dads. That was the title, the Dead Dads. It was a longer show, but these two, they were young guys at the point. I think they were in their early 20s. Cipriano murders. If you go Google that, I won't give you all the details. And then also Brandon talked about his father committing suicide. It was a very emotional show. It's when people ask me like, what are the few shows that really stand out for you? That one, episode 60. We're on 372 right now. Episode 60. Yeah, we talk about where focus goes, where focus goes, energy flows. If you look around, like, for example, it's called the reticular activation system. That's what I was saying. I had to get back to my thought. Tanner, I just talked to Tanner recently. He has a one-man show. He's probably listening to this. I'm going to his show, but he said, you on your podcast talked about this, and he goes, now I use it in my one-man show, and I'm going up to see it next Sunday, a week from this Sunday. I'm going to see him, and I haven't seen him in since Brandon's wedding, I think it was. But anyways, if I tell you to look around, I'll just do this. Like, anybody listening and watching, like, look around your room and tell me everything that's red. And I'll do this. Red. Sorry, my ear monitors are going to pull out red. You can look around your room and go, okay, yeah, I see everything that's red, Chris. And then I sit there and say, okay, what was blue? You go, you were telling me to look for what's red, Chris. I saw what's red. I didn't see what was blue. That's the perfect analogy. So you guys got the jump and you got that analogy. That's the same thing. Same thing. I spend my life and I spend my days not being perfect, but man, what can I look at to be grateful for right now? Like after I end this podcast, I get to go downstairs and eat my dinner, which we picked up on the way home, but I didn't have a chance to eat it, and sit with my kid and my wife and watch some television and reflect on this amazing conversation I had with Jonathan and reconnecting with him. There's so much to be grateful for. So yes, Robert, is to your point, if you wake up, you qualify to be blessed to be here. So wake up every single day and be grateful for what you have. Set the intention for what it is that you get to do, who you get to be. Jacqueline says, God protected you or your guardian angel or both. Yes, 100%. Thank you, Jacqueline, for commenting. People's egos tend to get them in a hell of a lot of trouble. Oh boy, I could talk about that. Robert says, breath work. Absolutely, Robert. Breath work. Thank you for reminding me about that. I took a breath work class. I did a breathworks class with Scott Goyette, my buddy that I used to do the Unfiltered experience with. He came out here to California from Austin. He's like, oh, we're going to go do a breathworks class. And I'm like, I fucking know how to breathe, dude. You fucking shaman motherfucker. Like we were yin and yang. You guys, Jacqueline remembers and Robert remember the Unfiltered experience. It's still there. If you go to the unfilteredexperience.com, it was a really great podcast where the yin and yang of the solar system, so to speak. But that was an incredible experience. I did a 6-week breathwork class online. And I still do that to this day. I don't make myself pass out or anything like that I almost did when I was there. But yes, I do my box breathing, which is 4 seconds in, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and then hold for 4 seconds. It's called box breathing. You guys can Google it. But 100%. My son even does that. I taught my son that at like 4 or 5 years old to do his box breathing. And I should remind him again now that he's playing video games, because he tends to have a little bit of meltdown when he doesn't get what he wants. Robert says also, I love those. I've listened to 4 different ones. Yeah, the binaural beats. Jacqueline says here, I lead by example, 1,000%. Yeah, like Jonathan said at the top of the show. Yeah, just be the person that you would love to have that interaction with. I live by the golden rule, like do unto others that you would have done do unto you. I live that rule. I live that life everywhere I go. I was just at Home Depot and smiled at people and said hi to people's kids, and I make the cash registers person's day. I do everything so that people go home and, man, fuck, I had a shitty day, but this guy in a hat and a bandana looked like a rock star. Made me think or feel or smile, or made me feel like humanity is not going to fucking hell in a handbasket. Robert says here, I love his work on Family Feud. Yeah. Steve Harvey is brilliant. He really is a cool dude. Robert says, thank you both. Yeah. Canadian up there. We got DS in the house. I didn't even see this before. DS, I'm going to be on his show pretty soon. The Food Plane says, hello, Christopher DS here. I missed the show. I have to watch the replay. Good to see you. It's great to see you too, brother. It's great to see you. You are going to enjoy the shit out of this one. Yes. What else we got here? Robert says here, having made my share of pies, I can relate to this. Right. DS says, I got here as we were talking food. Yep. See, your ears were burning, DS. Your ears were burning. And just rounding it out, Jacqueline says, I'm prone to bronchitis. I get sometimes pneumonia with it. I'm sure I spelled them wrong. It's fine. Totally understand. I get pissed off when I spell things wrong and the spell checker doesn't figure it out. Don't you get mad? Like, trying to spell something and you're like, I'm spelling it so bad that even the spell checker can't figure it the fuck out. Robert says, you're talking about bronchitis. I don't smoke. Yeah. All right. So final thoughts, since we've been going here for a while. Like Jonathan said, you can be inspired by this. You can be like, oh my God, that was an amazing conversation. But like I said, and I say every single podcast, write these things down. I keep sticky notes right here. I wrote down here in case you missed the first part of the show. I'm going to offer a Patreon thing here, like I'm calling it Backstage Pass. And so I wrote it down here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sticky notes right in front of me on my monitor. We all have monitors. So put some sticky notes on there. Those become your priorities. So take a couple of things that Jonathan and I talked about, write them on a sticky note, stick them on your dashboard, stick them on your clock radio, stick them on your bedside nightstand. Ooh, say that 10 times fast. Bedside nightstand. I'm going to have my son do that one. We do tongue twisters. But you got to make it a focal point. You got to make it a priority in your life. If you don't, then you're going to be on to the next thing and on to the next thing and on to the next thing. And I can't wait for Jonathan to read this, The 5 Regrets of the Dying. If you guys haven't read it or listened to it, game changer, truth. All right. So I appreciate you guys. Make sure you're supporting the book. It's justyourandmekid.com. And we'll be back here next week. Let's see. When am I going on vacation? I'm going on an Alaskan cruise. So grateful. We leave a week from this Saturday. So next Tuesday will be a live show. We'll make it a solo show. The week after that, normally I do a replay, but I am going to be interviewing somebody who's going to be playing on the week after that. So it won't be live, but it'll be an amazing guest that you guys are going to love. I'm not going to say who. And yeah, we're going to keep rocking and rolling. So you guys go out there and please just do one nice thing for a stranger every single day. That's the payment that you can give back to me for this show. I give my heart and soul on this. You could change your life with this. Let's all be intentional about going and making just one part of someone else's life just a little bit better. I've learned the adage that, you leave the place a little bit better than when you got there. So whether it's Home Depot, whether it's the restaurant, wherever it is, my kid's school, everywhere I go, I try to make it just a little bit better, a little bit brighter, a little bit funnier, whatever it might be. So if we all do that, the people that are listening to the show, we're in 100 plus countries all over the world. We start doing that. We say, hey, the guy from the Raw and Unscripted show, the No Excuses coach, said to do this. And we all start putting those dominoes into place, right? It's pretty substantial how fast we can change the trajectory of what's going on. And I see it happening right now. I see people combining and getting out of the you're this and you're that and you're this and you're that and you're this and you're that. And I'm seeing people like, together we are humanity. I love you guys. Go out there and be kick-ass unstoppable.